welcome to Slash Forward. Prepare to make a big batch of trouser chili as we continue exploring the Conjuring universe with La Llorona, also released in 2019. Let's get to it. We open in Mexico, 1673. We see a couple of dapper young peasant boys gift their mama a necklace before playing hide-and-seek. Extreme wilderness challenge. The younger brother eventually wins by finding his mother, but immediately wishes he hadn't. Flash forward to 1973, where we witness a chaotic but well-choreographed morning as the family attempts to make the bus, but in vain. This turns out to be a recurring theme for Anna, and so some of her CPS caseload has been transferred to Donna as a reward for her punctuality. Anna manages to retain the Alvarez family, her personal favorites, and finds the situation deteriorated. She manages to talk her way in and observes some unusual behavior, but no kids. Mrs. Alvarez wants her to stay clear of the door and tries to hammer the point home without ever explaining why. So when the officer drags her off and Anna comes out of the scuffle with the key, she frees the boys who actually seem to prefer their privacy. That night at the shelter, Tomas goes blinking down the hallways while Carlos tries to catch up with his bro. Oh, what you pointing at? I see. Anna gets a call and arrives on scene with her kids in tow. We learn the boys were found in the river and Mrs. Alvarez blames Anna, finally mentioning the name La Llorona. When Chris gets out to do some junior detective work, he's drawn in by some faint crying that's 80% likely to be a junkie with a rusty knife. He kind of lucks out that it's not, except he's also now cursed. At the boy's funeral, Anna's greeted by Father Perez, who's never met a stranger he doesn't like to explain things to. So she asks him about the legend of La Llorona. He explains that to hurt her husband, who cheated on her, she killed their children, then realized that kinda hurts her as well, so now she roams the Shadow Realm looking for proxy children to drown, to assuage her pain. The next day, Samantha has her own interaction with the specter, who tries to lead her to the water before burning her a little. Anna finds her crying and injured, but unwilling to talk. That evening, Detective Cooper comes by to seek out some help, hoping that Mrs. Alvarez's anger toward Anna will get her to admit something, since she has an otherwise solid alibi for when her kids would have been killed. As she reviews the case file, she notices a connection between injuries on the boys and her kids, and the house fills with a spooky energy. Anna hears some banging noises and wanders through her palatial California estate. Turns out it was just Chris sleepwalking. However, she puts him to bed and finds more evidence of a presence.
Is there someone in here?
If you're a spirit, you have to tell me. She's confronted but manages to repel the ghost with shrieking, and then her children come to check on Mommy's degrading emotional state. Anna goes to the jail the next day looking like garbage from her all-nighter, with a new agenda of asking Mrs. Alvarez to tell her some ghost stories, and she obliges. While gone, Chris hears a faint crying sound and goes to check on his sister. She's not there and her curtains end up flirting with him a bit, but come on too strong. Right as Anna gets home, requiring medical treatment, Anna is forced to take him to the hospital and risk being confronted by a mandatory reporter. She ends up on the receiving end of a welfare check, all administered by people with whom she shares a professional relationship. No one tells them it was a ghost though, so she's gonna have that report hanging over her head. On the way out, Cooper confirms they had to release Mrs. Alvarez due to a lack of evidence. So at least Anna knows she's unlikely to go down when her children are eventually murdered. Anna tries to get Chris to open up while Sam has a moment of respite, enjoying a normal, everyday activity. A bubble bath with a deep tissue scalp massage from Mommy Llorona. Things start out well, but she proves to be overcommitted to the rinse. Anna arrives just in time to get her out safely while Chris just stands there and points at something. Come on, use your words. They run to Father Perez, but fear he may not believe them. He confirms after his experience with Annabelle, he'll basically believe anything. He offers to pencil them in with the Archdiocese in several weeks, but recommends a freelancer if they need faster results. They almost get caught up in a matter of conflicting responsibilities as Raphael immediately refers them back to the church. When Sam says the magic word, he gathers his trinkets and goes to their home. A quick egg test confirms an abundance of dark energy in the house. Raphael said the eggs would be filled with blood in equal measure to the presence of evil, so who knows what this black goo is meant to indicate. They all set the mood and hang out until they get indications of La Llorona's presence, in this case manifested by what sounds like bringing Christmas decorations down from the attic. She makes short work of their protections, coming in WWE style. Then she goes for some classic ghosting, dragging Chris through the house before Raphael repels her and blocks her out with fire tree seed. She focuses her attention on the back, giving Sam an opportunity to retrieve her dolly from the front porch. Perhaps the danger hasn't been sufficiently expressed to you? When she's snatched, they go to confront Llorona in the pool. Raphael blesses the water in the name of Ponderosa, and we learn that Anna is very talented at snatch and hose jewelry in the middle of a scuffle. After a bit, a new threat emerges when Mrs. Alvarez shows up and unblocks the doorway, hoping that sacrificing Anna's children will bring back hers. And Llorona decides to get serious, just wanting to drown some damn kids. Chris and Sam find themselves alone upstairs where Llorona continues to demonstrate her mastery of doors. So they end up in the attic where they're able to hold her off just long enough for Anna to get there and express her maternal love with a heart stab from a fire tree crucifix, causing her to dissipate. The next morning they send Raphael off in a cab and get back to normal life. And that was The Curse of La Llorona, a story about a mother's undying love and devotion to her children, and another's unending guilt, rage, and thirst for vengeance due to her own actions. So it's kind of a neutral message. If you enjoyed the video, I'd love for you to become a part of the channel by subscribing. Thanks for watching.